All right, another beautiful day in paradise, right? I don't know. Some days I feel like I'm stuck in between where I think it should be and where it actually is, and I get pulled down. I'll be looking at, well, it's a beautiful sunny day, and I got lots of power, so that should be good. And then you look around at all the stuff that doesn't work, and you're like, oh, what's the point? Is it even worth messing with it? So I don't know. Some parts are really good, and some parts are not so good. Sometimes that's kind of the way to look at it, though. It's like, well, do you fix the parts that aren't good? Is it worth the time? You know, you can't just focus on the good as much. That's nicer, but if you focus on the good, you never get around to fixing the stuff that's messed up, right? I don't know. I guess if everything was good, you wouldn't appreciate the good so much, but it'd be nice if things worked a little bit once in a while. Yeah. See, the thing is, propane is relatively inexpensive compared to what it would take to do the same job with electricity. I'm looking at my options right now, and what I really want to do is upgrade to a full lithium battery system, which could run $1,200–1,300, but that would get rid of all the lead acid batteries that I'm typically using. By doing that, I'm replacing a battery that only lasts about 2 or 3 years with a battery that'll last probably around 10 years minimum. And so it's a lot more efficient. I could do more with less batteries. I can run jobs into the evening. I could actually be a lot more productive during the winter especially. But when you stop and think about it, that 15 or 20 pounds of propane, relatively inexpensive. I've been looking a lot at what I'm doing each day and trying to see where I can stretch my available power. Winter is definitely not the time to do 3D printing. It uses a lot of power, takes a long time, and this part that I'm printing now ended up warping because of the cold air, after running for about 4 hours. So I really can't print in the winter, at least not big stuff. Alright, so here we are, second week of January 2023. Already. I think my theme for this year is upgrading efficiency and infrastructure and how I do things. I could spend the next 5 years upgrading and fixing all the stuff I did wrong in the first 5 years. There are things that just aren't working so great right now. My batteries are pretty old and they don't hold much charge anymore. In 2023, I'll be saving up for a full lithium battery system, but they're kind of expensive. In the meantime, I've been experimenting with the bicycle batteries. They work well, but aren't quite big enough. I've realized most of my power day to day is going to cooking. I would have thought it was going to computers for writing and video editing. That's actually why I haven't been posting videos lately. If it's cloudy, I can't edit the videos. A weird irony. I could just burn propane. I really hate burning anything. Gas, propane, firewood. It's all just dumping crap into the air we all need. I know lithium batteries aren't perfect, but they're only mined once, and last up to 10 years or so, versus burning stuff every single time. So while I could just burn propane, I still have to go get the propane, where the solar comes to me most days. Yesterday, January 10th, 2023, I took a shower from this water, only heated by the sun shining on the black pipe and the black trash can. It wasn't really warm water, but it wasn't awfully cold either. No electricity or propane wasted heating the water. So this gives me options. I can pick a good day for a shower. It's been warm in the last few days, but still down to freezing overnight. This is pretty cool. Honestly, I had looked at this a few times in the past, and I didn't think it would work well enough in the winter, so I didn't even bother trying. These are the flexible solar panels from the solar bike trip. I'm experimenting with moving and tracking the sun instead of just facing south all the time. This is just a quick shot of how I'm adjusting the panels. I use an angle bracket that's got holes pre-drilled in it and a piece of PVC pipe as a strut, and I can just undo the bolt and put the pipe on different holes to get it in different positions. I move this around maybe once an hour, every other hour, something like that. It's not super precise, but the panel facing towards the sun in the morning definitely does help. And again, also in the evening towards sunset, I can aim the panel directly at the sun instead of facing it straight south. So it's better than nothing. It does seem to help. For now, it's all manual, but I get more sun per hour than if they just face south. It doesn't take too long, so getting the sun first thing in the morning seems worth it. The Harbor Freight panels were getting morning shadow from the house when they were at the west end of the house. I put them there because it was more out of my way. Some days I wonder, do I want to spend the rest of my life fixing my mistakes? New for 2023, electric ATV trike conversion. Okay, so here's the plan. We use the 750 watt electric motor from the Turtle project. I can test with the 4 electric bicycle batteries that I have now. A stretch goal, get 4 big lithium 100 amp hour batteries. When I need to haul something big, like trash or to pick up a package, I put the batteries on the trike and drive to town. Otherwise, those same batteries could power my solar system at home. So we get to use the same batteries for day-to-day, running computers and 3D printers, and also for transportation. That's genius! I can also add solar to the trike, just make a roof if I want to. I already have the big motor from Turtle. It'll work great for this. It also has the controller. I already have bike batteries for testing, but that might not be enough to get to town. We'll see. I will definitely test that. I also already have the solar charge controller from the electric solar bike project. I've got experience with that. I ran that about 4,000 miles in 2022. So all we have to do really is add bigger batteries. Okay, that's maybe $1,500, so not cheap. When the neighbors gave the trike to me, it was all in pieces, and the tires were dry rotted. What I'm thinking, we find other wheels and try to match the same hole pattern, and then run small car tires on the trike instead of the bouncy ATV tires. Hopefully I can find a generic wheel that just matches the hole pattern. Maybe a trailer tire and wheel would be the easiest to find. I could also make a little trailer to tow behind the trike. Worst case, I'll just make up a wheel adapter to go from the hubs on the trike to whichever wheel I can find easily. It's apparently okay to ride ATVs to town out here. A lot of the ranchers are doing it now. If not, I'll just add pedals. Everybody's used to seeing me riding a bike. They'd never think about it. Okay, a little bit of a robot update and then we'll go future plans. This is the current testing rover. It's based on a radio-controlled 4-wheel drive buggy car that I've talked about a little bit in the past. This is one that's brand new that hasn't been used in the dirt yet. It's just, cleaner. The good, the bad, and the ugly. When I bought these, I bought 4 of them so I'd have spare parts, and my intention always was to take it apart, do some changes to it, and by buying 3 or 4, now I've got spare parts. So for instance, these blue shock absorbers here, I've broken 2 of them already. I think once was just stepping on it or kicking it or something like that, or knocking it off the shelf. They're not fragile, but they're a lot of plastic parts. But by buying multiples, then it was easy for me to switch parts back and forth and put on something that I needed. They had a really simple radio control system that was not proportional. So when you hit the throttle, it was full throttle. There was no in between. And the same with steering. When you hit steering, it was just all left or all right, which was fun for a while. But I really wanted something with a little more control over it. So this is the receiver from a radio-controlled transmitter set. And so I can run a really good proportional control into this. And then I also put a Arduino, which is a little microcontroller. This is an example of an Arduino. You can see it's pretty small. You can program this. And so what I have is the signal from the radio control going through the Arduino, and then the Arduino can change the signal before it goes to the motors for the wheels. Okay. One of the things that let me do is I can do very smooth starts and stops, and I can do reverse just by flipping a switch and then hitting the throttle again, which was, kind of cool. The original did have reverse, but again, it was full speed or nothing. Also, I added better batteries to it. Okay. So with this, I can add features as I go, and I can just update the software, and I can make it do different things. The beer cooler robot, I'm going to have to wait until at least spring. I just don't have enough electricity during the winter to take on really big 3D printing projects, but I can do little stuff. So this is something I was playing around with, a little chunk of Legos, right? They all snap together. I love using the Legos just for a quick mock-up to see what something would look like before you commit to making it. And so for quite a while, this has just been sitting on my desk with the Arduino sitting on top. It's not connected to anything. Okay. But I was just kind of using that for a scale. So, I mean, this whole thing is 3 inches long versus the buggies are about 11 inches long. Okay, so all your parts are proportionally smaller. The size of the buggy's tire is almost as big as this little guy. Okay, so now I can make really little wheels and stuff. Okay. So I happen to see another commercially available Mars rover replica, and they listed the specs, and this is the motor they were using. Now, from the end of the shaft to the back of the motor, it's about a little less than 1.5 inches. The motor itself is pretty much exactly 1 inch long. You can see the gears on the end. Okay, and this thing is like the size of my finger, right? Like the first knuckle, basically. Okay. These work amazingly well. I've been doing a little bit of testing. I haven't been able to drive it yet, but I hooked it up to a speed controller, and at, I think it was about 4 or 5 volts, I had 60 RPMs at full throttle. So 1 revolution a second, which on a little wheel would be a pretty good speed, plus you can slow it down. Okay. So they came with the wires pre-soldered on with a connector that I don't have, so I'm going to end up cutting that off anyway. But it's a good little motor, puts out pretty good torque. So what I came up with, I thought, okay, let's make a wheel that was supposed to be sized for the shaft. It's about 0.5 millimeter off, and when you're at that scale, it does make a difference. But it's close enough, I should be able to just put a blob of hot glue on the shaft and hold it in place. So I'm looking around, and I realized this is a replica of a 123 block, which I'm not even sure if I got the scale right now that I think about it. Yeah, actually it's pretty good. So 1 inch by 2 inches. Yeah, I guess I did. So 1 by 2 by 3. And the holes are probably 1/2 inch in diameter. So it just turned out that this thing that I had printed 5 years ago, it happens to fit these motors really nicely. So here's 2 motors sticking in the ends. And so with this, I can put my wheel on, and I can make a little tiny skid steering robot that's about the size of my Legos here. All right, so that's kind of the plan. And then there's enough room on top for the Arduino. That just happened to work out that way. So what I'm thinking from now until probably March, I'm going to focus on building little stuff and not so much on the bigger stuff. And then come spring, then we can kind of reevaluate. Now, what happened with the beer cooler robot, one of the biggest problems right away was that I had bought, I think, 8 wheels, and I'd been using them on things like the wheelbarrow, hauling rocks, and the wheels are all slightly out of true. They're a little bit bent, all of them. But you know, you buy the 10-inch wheels from Harbor Freight for, I don't know, whatever it was, $10 or less. So they weren't really very strong, and they're all flat now, and they're all bent. Okay. So when I decided I was going to use those, I just thought that was the easiest thing ever. I could just, you know, put them together, run a chain or a belt or something like that. Then I realized the wheels were all bent, and I was trying to attach a sprocket or a pulley onto the wheel to drive the belt or the chain from the motor. And having bent wheels, that just kind of killed the whole idea. So, yeah. Oh, reflection. Okay, less reflection. Still ugly. Okay. So, okay, the rover, the robots. I mean, I came into, geez, how many months ago was it that I had the idea for the beer cooler robot, right? Okay, yesterday we got rain. That was huge. I mean, it wasn't a lot of rain, but I caught a lot of rain off of the rain gutters. Okay, so that gives me more water. That's one of the few things that is working right now. You know, I've got more water than I've got room to put it in the tanks still. You know, the biggest tank completely full, the other tank completely full, the other tank completely full. All right. So now when it rains, it's just going in the trash can. Every day I walk out with a pitcher and pull water out of the trash can. That's my daily water. I run it through the filter and we're done. Okay. But if I look at, okay, for instance, the internet, for me to get this video uploaded, I'm probably going to end up riding the bike 10 miles to get close enough for the internet to work well enough to upload the video, is how it's going to happen. I'll have some days where the internet works just fantastically well. And then other days, it'll take me 2 days to even reply to a message on Facebook because it'll almost load and then stop and almost load and stop. And finally, I just like, oh, I'm done. I'll go do something else. Mine will start working about halfway to town. Okay, that's just the way it is. So what do? It's like, talk about $1,000 solution. It's like, well, I've already got the Wii Boost that, again, Houston Firefox got for me. That at least makes it possible, but it's not good enough usually. To do it, I mean, to upload a video, it's going to be several hundred megabytes. And if it doesn't work for a while, it'll time out and just quit. And then you've wasted the data on a failed attempt and it just didn't work. Okay. Even an unlimited data plan, when you get past a certain point, they start to slow you down. Now out here, it's so slow anyway, I honestly can't tell the difference between fast and slow. It's just awful, always awful. You know, even on the good day, it's just less awful, but it's still awful. You know, so I keep dreaming about, well, should I get something like Starlink? You know, that would be great. But $600 up front. The last time I looked, it's about $110 a month. Okay. So not twice as much as my phone, but more than my phone. Okay. Right now the money isn't there. You know, I don't have $110 worth of people supporting the channel. So, you know, even, you know, AdSense, Patreon, and YouTube members aren't even enough to cover the phone right now. So, yeah, you know, when I was on the bike trip, I posted every day and income was slightly more. Anyway, I'll stay out here with the bunnies and the rattlesnakes.